welcome to Blockchain Healthcare's presentation today in a series titled Utility in Healthcare. The series is meant to highlight pioneers who've taken experiential knowledge to business application. Today we are speaking with Daniel Uribe, co-founder and CEO of Genobank.io, a genetic testing lab you may or may not have heard of. Before we get into that great conversation, I'd like to inform people of the mission of blockchain in healthcare today. Blockchain in Healthcare Today is the world's first peer-reviewed journal that amplifies and disseminates distributed ledger technology, research and innovations in the healthcare information systems, clinical computing and network technologies, and biomedical research sector. It is considered the preeminent gold open access journal and is published on a continuous basis to accelerate sharing rigorously vetted theoretical and experiential knowledge required for a growth sector like blockchain in healthcare today. So also real quick, we have an upcoming seminar September 15th in Austin, Texas, and I wanted to let you all know that this is the place to meet all the professionals in the industry that are currently working towards the same goal as Daniel and myself really is more participation in the healthcare industry from blockchain. I'm going to put the link down here in the chat for anyone to look at if they're interested in going to the symposium. And I think a little birdie told me that I might get to meet you there, Daniel.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Exciting.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. So with that all being said, today we are here to talk about privacy. It's something that people emphasize the importance of every day, yet we are constantly asked for personal information that we're uncomfortable giving, often being process designed by another human being who probably expresses a need for privacy and anonymity themselves. If you're like me, I have an other box in my outbox. I even have fake accounts for websites to receive all their junk mail. Those are problems with Web 2, and that's for another day, but it does show the problems we face with privacy. Where do we go wrong? Where is the coordination failure? Privacy is something that we all want, but it seems to be so elusive. At least with climate change and other of humanity's coordination failures, we know what needs to be done. We just don't do it. Which brings us to why we're here today. What happens when a corporation takes your genomic data and promises to never sell it, and it has a Cambridge Analytica moment? Many of this day cannot trust Facebook because of the trust that was lost when we found out that all of our messages and all of our information was possibly being sold. What if said company had to restructure? Corporations of all sizes do, even nonprofit to profit. Businesses have many options for reconstruction, including selling assets. Assets you never owned, but contained a lot of information about you. Were those data fields when you did that genomic testing really anonymized? Cryptocurrencies are also known as digital assets and fall under the regulatory authority for commodities. They're digital assets that people own. Healthcare data is an asset that you do not own. Ask yourself your question. If you don't have those assets, why are they keeping them if they say they'll never share them? Why do you just get a report? And why do companies want this information? All of our privacy concerns, and a lot of us have overlooked this big one. You don't own medical data. It can be sold and used in many ways. The data produced by healthcare is unimaginable. From your heartbeat to your checkbook, they'll even try to accommodate your religion, your language. Some have tangible effects, some not. Without your information, though, you have no leverage. You lack the freedom of digital liquidity of your own information. Hospitals are benign, people would say, but they are a business. Restaurants have great presentations too, accommodate your religion, food taste. Customer service isn't about always owning your information from the customer. What if your information was held in a wallet of your own data? We basically already have that with digital assets, or what people commonly call cryptocurrencies, or in this case, NFTs. Today, we're talking to Daniel about digital assets and the lack or need for digital liquidity. So, welcome, Daniel, and I will let you take the floor from here. I wanted to get to the questions for you here in a moment. First off, why don't you tell us about yourself and why genomics for your company?
Of course, thank you very much, Ryan. Thank you
I
everybody.
think we might.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Maybe have
There's
a delay.
a delay in your sound, but that's okay. It comes.
Okay. Well, as I was telling you, so thank you everybody for being here. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here with you, Ryan. So my story begins in 2017. Okay, let me think. I've seen the mic. The mic, where is the mic? Can we try now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So in 2017, my son was diagnosed with a genetic rare disease that is causing him a pathology. Is the name is Glanzmann thrombocythemia, and it's very similar to a hemophilia, but it's not hemophilia. So it's a disease that that will allow you not to make some proper clots. So the patient tends to bleed a lot, and it could be very dangerous for internal bleedings, right? Those are the specific ones that will concern us the most. So back in that time, I was already involved in blockchain. I had a fund. I was an angel investor that back then, and I was investing in the space of fintech and blockchain, specifically stablecoins. We invested in one of the companies with a crypto Mexican peso, that's still alive, and it's a wallet for paying. It's cross-border billing payment between the United States and Mexico. So that was really exciting. But again, obviously, the case of my son inspired me, and I was obviously very incentivized to learn as much as I can about genomics. First of all, obviously, for the sake of his own good health, or how to take care of him. But second, obviously, as a professional in the space of cybersecurity, I started learning about genomics. And right after, I went to Germany to study bioinformatics, and then I went to London School of Economics and study data law as well. So at the end of the day, we are right now like in the space of genomics, privacy laws, and blockchain, or more specifically into NFTs. I think you're muted, right?
Okay. So then healthcare and blockchain clicked for a lot of us early on because it gave us that opportunity for, we saw those connections of the disparate parts in the healthcare industry that really, like in your son's case, would benefit from information that could be used to your own advantage, or that you can use, or you can direct to where you want it to be used, and own that information. So I wanted to let's go into Genobank's model for your business. Why don't you tell us what market segment you cling to, your competitors, and how your process is different than theirs. Uh, I guess take me through the process. What if I walked in the door?
Of course. So everything starts with a human biosample, right? So actually, this is like the prototype that I always use. Like I have here in front of me. This is a very typical biosample collection tube, right? On its kit. So usually what you do is you will spit here a little bit of your saliva, usually is 2 milliliters, right? And we are agnostic in terms of which manufacturer, right? This is one of the most famous. This is from our friends of DNA Genotech. This is their OGD 610, right? Very famous. But the only condition is that it has to have a unique serial number, right? So what we do is we create a QR code that is unique to these two, but has a very unique characteristic as well. That QR code, or this QR code, already contains the cryptographic signature or the ID from the laboratory or the genetic testing company that will be sequencing your sample. So before that moment, the laboratory or the genetic testing company has to have an identity in the blockchain that we know. So is a wallet literally, or a public address, right? That we as Genobank, we have it in our profiles of laboratories. To do that, we certify that this is a cleared or a certified laboratory. And in this case, we are also kind of the pioneers in what we call a laboratory NFT or a lab NFT. And we use that NFT as an identifier of the laboratory. So what happens when you get the test kit is that you will scan this QR code. And again, we already have two claims, right? We have the identity of the laboratory and we have the identity of the biosample, the serial number. The third one is your identity as a patient or as a participant. So you'll be asked to link with an existing wallet, or you can generate a new one. We always recommend to generate a new one and an independent one for controlling this specific biosample. When we have these three claims, as we call them, right, we create what we call our BioNFT or biosample permission token. And this is also where we pioneered since 2019. So we are the first consent NFT that involves these three players. It could be more because you could have a laboratory, a researcher, and you that are now related to a biosample. But in this case, the most simple mechanism would be the laboratory that will sequence your, or you will process your biosample, the biosample, and you, right? Because in essence, for us, what we are trying to do is use NFTs to give decentralized data rights to each biosample that are according to you, not to the company necessarily, or is a good agreement. So once the biosample is tokenized, right, I will still have to ship this, right? To ship it using mail or just put it into the laboratory or well, hand it over to the laboratory so it can be processed. But the huge advantage, I think, that to use this is that it's completely pseudo-anonymous, which means I didn't use any name or any email or any telephone. I'm just using my wallet, right? And we use non-custodial wallets, which means you will always have your private key. You can use non-custodial wallets. And in this way, you are in control. So you log in into your dashboard and then you start controlling what do you want to happen with your data that is produced by the laboratory. Each kit also has its private vault, right? And in this case, you are, again, you're in control. And we have a version for families where you don't have only one, you don't have only one biosample tube, you have minimum two, right? Father, son, mother, son, or children, and for siblings. But obviously, you can analyze the whole family, and we call this the family vault, right? The Web3 family vault or the genomic private vault. So in essence, this is kind of the idea where Genobank is working. At the end of the day, we want to enable patients or participants to own and control their biosamples and the derived data that we call biodata. I don't know if this was a good explanation.
Oh, no, I get it. Basically, you recommend a wallet for someone. A family can be tested and they can um, keep it in a family vault. And you, I believe we talked about don't keep the information yourself unless they want to in that vault. And are they able to keep it with you guys at all? I know your competitors would keep that information, but I'm wondering about the ownership of it completely. Is that we've walked through your process, but I know these are questions that people may ask.
No,
Um,
it's a very good
absolutely.
question, actually.
I believe that you're based on an Ethereum chain too, with an NFT, and we're about to get into that.
Yes, so no, that's a very good question. So we do not store the information. We only are in charge of the governance kind of claims or the governance mechanisms. So we help our donors to work with their existing laboratory. So our technology enables laboratories to offer these vaults, right? They already are like storing the data. They are already trusted by the patients or the donors or the researchers, right? Laboratories are still a very secure place to store biodata. Usually they have a lot of certifications, even like the newest ISO 27000. And what we just enable is that the governance of the data is controlled by the donor. And in essence, in one sentence, what we are doing is we are enabling certified laboratory data and consented by the donor to be in hands of researchers.
And you wrote a paper, or you and I don't have it right in front of me. You'll have to apologize.
No,
You were maybe the main author on it, and it was in the Journal of the British Blockchain Association that described it pretty well. And we went into a discussion about how Vitalik had come out with this paper recently about soul-bound tokens
Mm.
and who can be an issuing authority for a soul-bound token. Oh my gosh, what does that even mean? We've got a new token coming up. And so tell me what your opinion is about that, because we went into that a little bit, and it's uh it's interesting because even in the groups that I speak with, we've had debates over who can issue and how it transports through that. But the originality of it is my, I guess, my fascination with that part. If you could go into that a little bit, that would be great.
Of course, no, this is a very interesting topic. Yes, so I co-authored in 2020 um, an article named Privacy Laws, Non-Fungible Tokens and Genomics. So I just put it a link in the chat if somebody is interested. But in essence, if I may share my screen, I have one slide that could literally illustrate very like succinctly that what we're doing. I believe I have the okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Ryan. So at the end of the day, again, we think that these BioNFTs are part of the building blocks for Health 3 or 3.0. 3.0 means like the donor or the patient has the ownership and control, right? Or is patient owned kind of health. So this is again the my inspiration, my son. So this is the paper, and in the essence of the paper is basically this triangle, and I believe we describe the functionality. So in this triangle, the authority or the ethical authority is the patient for us. So the most powerful kind of saying here is patient's consent, right? So that's the first. The second very important part is the laboratory ID. So laboratories, we have different qualities, different specialities, different like types of laboratories. And the laboratory for us is proof of authority in terms of the health certifications, right? Some of them are CLIA certified, some of them they are not. But what I'm trying to do, this is the proof of origin, proof of quality, proof of authority in terms of the data, in terms of the protocol they are using, in terms of the machine, right? I mean, I'm here have a Oxford nanopore kind of DNA sequencer, right? So the idea is that the laboratory will obviously sequence the data and enrich it with metadata. And lastly, we have the data consumer, right? Or the person or the entity that will make the use or the most use of this information, which is the researcher. So we have the BioNFT that represents consent. We have the laboratory NFT that represents the authority of the laboratory or the origin of the data. And then we have the researcher NFT that represents the custodian, right? The data processor or the data, the person or the entity that will analyze this data. So this is basically what we do. And well, this is just like an illustration about our family vault that has like at least three different private keys, has for mom, dad, and a trustee. So in case of a, let's say, hopefully not divorce or something that happens, maybe some of the parent might die. These are things that happen. Well, then you need to have two of the keys, 2/3 of the keys, right? Of the keys. But again, we want to emphasize that Genobank is very focused in the governance layer of genomics, right? We want to make it secure, and we want to have traceability, right?
So what would you say to somebody who would say to say the hospital um, or a large institution, if they don't have if they don't have access to someone's information that we all keep in a DID, a de-identified wallet, um, they might say that it's siloed information. And if you get to a hospital or something along those lines, and this just happens to be one part of it, but of your wallet, but then you start building other parts in your wallet, blood tests for, you know, something that's come up, office visits, specialists. So what do you say to siloed information beyond genomics? And is it kind of in a different class where this is just a base um, information, whereas the other is emergent information that is needed to know quicker? I'm trying to think of if somebody goes to the ER, and this wouldn't really need to possibly be known, but this would be a part of that wallet. And when it gets bigger and larger, then people might say that it's information that's not available to be accessed for emergency use. Yours isn't like that, but do you have anything to say to a growing DID of an individual with more and more compounded information on their medical data?
No, totally. Again, I believe blockchain is an excellent governance or programmable privacy kind of software layer, right? So in our roadmap, what we think is, again, your information is usually stored in your trusted laboratory, right? This could even be the laboratory that is annexed to the hospital that you are usually or would usually go, right? I mean, I'm not saying that this will happen. Emergencies happen everywhere in the world. But what I'm trying to tell you is that the laboratories might have the power to disclose your information on an emergency. And there are claims that can clearly prove that this situation was literally an emergency, right? Because at the end of the day, privacy for us is 95% control, right? It's not secrecy as many we think confuse, right? We patients don't want to protect our data as it would be the top secret from the government kind of thing. No, we just want to have control. And if somebody had access to our information, we want to know why. And obviously, if it's a positive or a net positive outcome or purpose, that's okay. I believe at the end of the day, that's also the spirit of the privacy laws. The spirit of the privacy laws is to protect people's dignity, right? And you don't want to have, or you don't want to surprise your patients or your users when you misuse the information, because again, those cases will derive into a conflict and potential legal conflicts. And if you don't have proper consent, you will be in trouble as a company. So at the end of the day, what I'm trying to tell you is that you can program, you can literally use the platform to have all these already sorted out, and you have pre-consented data for emergencies, as long as the people who is accessing your information signs, and they cannot be anonymized. They cannot be under a pseudo-anonymous. They have to be known, and there's got to be somebody at the hospital that signs the transaction and leaves trace of why they accessed your private vault. But I think this is the use case. This is what you want to use the blockchain for, in my opinion. I mean, traceability, control, and permissions.
So you kind of went right into my next question. The CCPA and COPRA. So the California Consumer Privacy Act also includes biogenetic information. And so does COPRA, the national legislation that we currently don't have passed, but there is reason to believe that more and more this information will be in the purview of the person, of the individual, because of the privacy laws. So I'll let you speak to that a little bit more. It looks like you've got the perfect one here, ethical biodata market for research. Let's go.
No, thank you. I mean, this is an excellent opportunity because, again, if we go to and study the essence of HIPAA, right? The essence of CCPA, of GDPR, again, it's like the state with all its power trying to protect the individual against a potential misuse or abuse from the companies when they store or hold their private information, right? That's one of the aspects. And there is kind of the middle ground where the government says, okay, companies, you're allowed to have the citizens' data as long as you have their consent, right? And then obviously, like for instance, GDPR Article 7 is very, very detailed about what is considered a good informed consent. And you have to have many aspects. Just to mention some, is that the purpose of the information. If it's literally into the scope of data minimization, right? The question is this the minimal information you could have in order to service your customer, your patient? What is the time retain or the period of retention of this information? Is it justified, right? And so on and so forth. So there's a whole discussion, but at the end of the day, you can abstract all this and say, at the end of the day, we all want transparency, right? And it has to make sense. So if I am just selling you an ancestry report, why do you need my information to stay in your servers for months or even years, right? Doesn't make sense, in my opinion. So if I want to service you with just an ancestry report, could be seconds, as you were mentioning at the beginning of the session, right? You can literally build a virtual machine, temporary virtual machine, put the customer's data, and then just delete the virtual machine as soon as you deliver the ancestry report. Again, the main idea, and this is the picture that I want to.
Oh, I was just going to say, it sounded like you were getting into the aggregated data, which is what we have, the anonymous values that are created through the genomic. We have all sorts of means to start testing them in an anonymous fashion for cures like the terrible one that afflicts your child, and other ones that people need cures for. So that aggregation of information through ML and AI that blockchain is the gateway for is really amazing in the process. If it can be pseudo-anonymous and or anonymous. So I'll let you.
No, I mean, you're totally right. And just to explain a little bit what's going on in this graph, what we are trying to do is to use there's a new kind of smart contract that it was incentivized by Tree Trunk, right? That is called cryptolithography. So we understand that for some cases, especially in rare diseases, the easiest way is for researchers to have the data, right? We know that there's federated compute and there's homomorphic encryption and all of those. To be honest, as a patient, that's only buzzwords, computational buzzwords, because those will aggregate error, those will aggregate noise, and you don't want that for your kid as a patient. You want the doctor to have the most accurate information in front of them, because again, we don't need secrecy. We don't need like to have like super computational kind of tools to have. We just need to know who has a copy of our information, what is the purpose, and don't do wrong things or wrong actions with our data. Because there is obviously the grand majority of the researchers are ethical. They don't want to sell the data. They don't want to do commercial stuff with it. They just want to do research, literally. And obviously, if there is a commercial interest, then again, you just need proper licensing of the data. We don't have anything against the commercial cases of the data. We just need, again, to find the middle ground, right? The common ground for everybody. And we could solve cases as the Mrs. Henrietta Lacks case that is very, very famous, that obviously her tissue was taken without her consent. Now the family is suing Thermo Fisher, and it's a scandal. It's frictioning citizens or patients with researchers, and we don't want that. These three is, I believe, a very good initiative. Obviously, everybody would be a better judge, but this is the thing that we just need to build. It's a tree of family and signed and authorized and consented copies in the hands of true researchers, not data brokers, true researchers. And we don't have problems to open the actual true data set coming from a laboratory where we can have all the data certifications and quality. Again, I mean, this is our vision. We respect others' companies, projects, researcher visions, but the simpler the architecture we think would be the best one, especially in healthcare, where you don't want to aggregate noise, you don't want to aggregate any kind of additional sources of error, right?
Yeah, I think that's very, very important. So I'm just going to kind of, oh, is that your son?
No, this is Janot Quiroz. Just very quickly, he's one of the researchers, right? He's been diagnosed with a rare disease as well. So this is kind of our customers, right? He's our partner and customer. So he has osteogenesis imperfecta, right? So the osteogenesis imperfecta is affecting bones, right? So these patients have very fragile bones. So we are enabling him to issue 3,000 exome kits to increase the liquidity of the data that is available that describes or is related to this specific. So this is one of the down to earth kind of things that we are doing. So this is the contracts that we do. We are not the brand, they are the brand, and the data is owned and controlled by the donors, is consented for research in the hands of researchers as Junot and his team. And they just need to choose a laboratory that could produce the exome data. And this is, again, we call it the ethical triangle, right? But again, this is just another slide that I wanted to share with you and the audience. But I think it is something that yeah, it shows what we are finally doing, right, in our day-by-day basis.
Excellent, excellent. Um, so I know you have an MBA behind your name, but like me, that doesn't always imply money, money, money. In a lot of ways, it's systems thinking, which is what we're talking about, organizational models. And do you see this fitting into some kind of token based economy? At some point, we're getting towards that. And in a lot of ways, should it be based in a token based economy? I know there's a lot of ethical and moral arguments going on about health coins or something along those lines, but I think it's a conversation we all need to have because we have insurance. So the payment models may have to be upskilled and or augmented. So do you have anything to say to a token-based economy with this for healthcare at all?
No, that's obviously a super interesting question and area. The token economy is going to happen, right? I think the magic will happen in a positive way when you select where the precise moment in terms of the network. And I'm referring to the size of the network and the traffic of the network. And when you have like literally like it's going to be a happy problem for you. What I mean is, for instance, very simple example. We all, or some of us, use the Starbucks kind of app, right? And some of us, we store value there, right? That's literally a tokenomics, right? And they did it because it was just a natural step. It was not forced, right? There were enough venues, there was enough people. And now Starbucks has a super happy problem because they have $1 billion usually in floating capital right now. And obviously they don't suffer about liquidity. And that could obviously be like a private blockchain, if I may. Like, it's obviously you cannot resell these tokens in the secondary market. But what I'm trying to tell you is that we think we are not there yet. I mean, for us, in our humble opinion, or maybe not as humble, right? Every single project that has issued their token before time has failed. And their value right now is minus 98%, right? Why? Because there's no value to sustain that token. Usually what happens is that you would have a very good proposal from what we call a whale, right? It's a person with a lot of capital. They say, hey, I'll buy you the token at 90% discount. And when you issue the token to the public and you do this marketing kind of thing, the price of the token will go up. But then as soon as this whale will cash out, because it's the grand majority of your tokens, that will trash the value of the token. That's exactly what has happened with the 5 or 6 projects that have done. And they hurt people, to be honest. They hurt the good reputation of Web3 or the good potential that Web3 has in this use case. That's why we just offer an NFT. The issuance of a BioNFT has zero speculative case right now. It costs approximately $1, a little bit less now, to issue one biosample permission token. And it's a utility token. Totally, it's a utility NFT. Laboratories do not have to have tokens. We prepay all the transactions with our wallet, and we just issue a fiat and very regular invoice every month based on the number of transactions they did. And I think this is the way to right now, that we are right now. But of course, if we scale to, let's say, 100,000 users, then it becomes interesting. And now maybe you can extract value from the network and you find the correct tokenomics. But until that time, I think nobody should issue a token, or I mean, the risk of, again, just crashing the system will be a lot.
Yeah, I think with the current correction and the idea that there has to be a larger ecosystem in order for it to work is important to know, because yeah, anybody can put out a token, let's just put it like that, and anybody can make some kind of statement about it, but when it comes down to it, we're still seeing that part of the industry and blockchain maturing. But blockchain is I want people to know they need to decouple that from cryptocurrency, and it is actually a scientific process of programming and way of lining up all sorts of values and connecting disparate markets that really weren't there before. So I think that's what's always fun about that. Do you want to tell us anything more about Genobank before I open it up for some questions for the guests that we have here, if they have any?
No, thank you very much. Just wanted to share that we just graduated and I just changed my background just to make the difference. So from Stacks Ventures, this is a regulatory kind of advantage. Stacks was born, I mean, Stacks is a software layer, is a network or a layer that will allow you to do or to mint NFTs using the Bitcoin blockchain network, right? This is attempted by other two protocols called RSK and Counterparty. But Stacks, I believe, is well, it is actually the only one that is authorized by the SEC, right? Stacks was born with a regulation A plus, or Reg A plus, as they call it, and this is a regulatory advantage, right? So we just graduated from the Stacks acceleration, and we are more than excited to bring our BioNFTs to the Bitcoin blockchain network, because as you were mentioning, we were born in Ethereum, then we were not able to operate on Ethereum, so we migrated to Avalanche, right? Avalanche now allows us to be as affordable, right, or have a good pricing for laboratories, which is again an average of $1 per transaction. But now we want to increase the availability of our services in other chains, because the future is, we think, multi-chain. So that's basically what I want to tell you. Many things are coming. We have the other platform that we also have. Genobank helps laboratories to sign their documents. So we have more than 320,000 biosample results, like for HIV tests, paternity tests, COVID-19, human papilloma, and so on and so forth. So this is another tool that we have, so laboratories can certify their documents and make them tamper-proof, because they sign it using the blockchain. And again, this is sovereign or self-sovereign kind of certificates. With that being said, I wanted to thank you, Ryan, enough. I mean, I'm very, very grateful for you to have me and Genobank in your show with your audience, and very, very, I mean, all my gratitude to you and your team for having us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I may get a little too excited about blockchain sometimes, and it's funny that you mentioned Starbucks, because when I first met Tori in person, I said that I told her, I said, well, blockchain started with Candy Crush, or that's what when people's obsession started with it. And if they don't understand tokenomics, then all they need to do is look to somebody who spent $10 on 100. I never played the game, or 100 another tries, or whatever that the tokens people bought on there, and you can understand tokenomics and people's incentive to do such things. And during that whole thing, if we're talking about maturing of the whole model of a blockchain ecosystem, um, it got to the point where they were able to know people's preferences for sounds and colors. You know, when I think when like certain types of candy exploded, it made sounds and people liked it. And it was a great experiment in marketing. It was a great way for people to find out. So I think the best thing is for pioneers like you to just keep on trucking and get it going. And this will be up on the Blockchain and Healthcare Today's website or their YouTube for everyone to see. I know that's where I watch a lot of these myself, because it is the middle of the day for a lot of people who actually work in healthcare. Um, so with that being said, I want to thank you, and I want to remind people about the symposium. And I meant to go through it with the process with you, and I wanted to actually go through the Genobank because I haven't had my DNA done yet. So I was thinking about talking to you about that. You do have kits that you can mail to people, I believe. I did see that on your, okay. So it'll be a great process to see where you go with this, Daniel. I'm excited, very excited.
No, thank you very much, Ryan. So yeah, so it's not direct kind of kits because we are a B2B solution, but we can certainly be happy to create a specific kit for. I mean, we have done this in the past because at the end of the day, what we want again is to enable people to own and control their data, regardless of the laboratory that they rather choose or prefer to have, right? In this case, again, I'm taking the liberty to just again show what we are doing, like for instance with Somos, right? Somos is an ancestry company based in California that helps Latinos and Latinas to explore their pre-Hispanic kind of ancestry, right? So this is a very kind of unique, but they use our technology. We're partners again and customers because you have your 12 words, right? That are the private key that controls the data sets coming from your DNA biosample kit. And you can obviously revoke the BioNFT if you don't want to, if you don't want them no longer to store your raw data. But again, this is up to them. And this is literally in 2020 was the first commercial decentralized DNA data vault used for ancestry. But what I'm trying to tell you is that this is the thing that we are trying to grow, which are the use case. The use case for researcher do not is exome, because this was genotyping. So we want to have partners that will process exome, and we want partners to process the whole genome or whatever the use case you want, right? Or specific regions of the DNA. But again, we just partner with, let's say, DNA kit issuers and laboratories. Yeah. I'm sorry, you're muted.
I was saying I'll have to include that in my model for a full blockchain doctor's primary office and testing. I'll be like, I know the supplier right here for you. So we'll get all your testing supplies and everything. I know who to go to now, Daniel. And by the way, blockchain healthcare is, we don't endorse products. If anybody is thinking that, I just wanted to make that clear that Daniel is here for us to view people in the industry that are taking it to the next level with application. So Daniel, I thank you again. It is time for us to leave. I look forward to meeting you in September if my birdie's true, and we will talk more there, okay? Thank you everyone for attending.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, everybody. Please have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.